Hi everyone, Ravi this side. Welcome to Engineering Adda. So there is a two part of this video. The part one I have discussed about the introduction of the GZIP compression. What is GZIP compression and how it works, what are the benefit, how we can implement it, what are the drawbacks, and everything we have discussed in the part one of this video. This is the second part of this video, and here we'll try to practically implement the GZIP compression in a Spring Boot application. So what we'll do, we'll try to create one Spring Boot application, and then after that, there we'll try to create one REST API, and then we'll implement the JZip compression in that. So let's get started for that, and let me try to go to the IntelliJ, and here you can see, let me try to create one fresh Spring Boot application. So go to the file and project, and let me try to create one Spring Boot application. Let's say its name is JZip compression example in Spring Boot. Okay, and select the Maven here, and let me try to select the version of Java to 21, and the packaging is jar. Now go next, and here I just want to include some starter dependencies like Lombok and Spring Web, and then just create the application. Open it in a new tab and just wait for a few seconds so that the configuration will be done, and whatever starter dependency that we have included, it will download it, and then we are ready for the development. So here you can see it is resolving the dependencies and trying to scan the indexes. Once it is done, we can go and do the development. So go to the source main and the Java. Here what I will do, I will try to create one simple REST API, which would be the post API, and we'll try to send couple of data in the body as a request body, and then we are not going to insert that data to somewhere in the database. What we'll do, we'll try to catch the data that we are sending as a request body from the postman or from the client, and then we'll store it somewhere in some variable and then return back the same data as a response. So that is what we are going to do. So we are inside this, go to this com. Let me try to create one separate package here. So go to the package, and let's say we are directly going to create the controller package, and let me try to create one class here called JZip controller, and let me try to annotate this with at the rate rest controller. If you want to do the request mapping, you can do that. So just let me try to do the request mapping, and let's say it is JZip. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create one post API. If you want to create the get API, you can do so, but here I'm just taking the example of post API. So just try to create one post API. Let's say it is compression, or first of all, what I will do, I will try to create one simple post API without the compression, and then after that we'll try to create another post API with the compression enabled, so that you can try to see the difference between both of them. What is the size of the response that we are getting with and without compression enabled? So let me try to create one post API which is not going to compress anything, and then after that we'll try to create one another post API which would be compressing the data or the payload that we are sending from the postman. So let's say the mapping is without compression. Okay, so without compression, and let's say the method name is or what it is returning is, let's say it is returning the public response entity. Okay, and let's say its return type is string, and let's say the method name is without compression, and here we are passing some string. We are not going to pass the key and value pairs or some DTO class. We are simply passing some string as a request body. So just try to do that request body and string, let's say body, and then inside this what we are doing, we are just simply try to return the response entity, and inside that response entity what we'll do, we'll try to encapsulate the body that we are sending as a request body. Okay, so the same thing we are returning from this method. Okay, so what we are doing here is this method is taking a request body, and that is of a string type. Its name is body. The same thing we are encapsulating in the response entity and then returning it out. So we are not doing going to compress anything here. Whatever thing we are sending as a request body from the postman, the same thing we are returning from this method, from this endpoint, you can say. So let me try to set the status here. Let's say status is OK. So HTTP status dot OK, and in the body we are just going to send the same thing that we are sending as a request body from the postman. That's it. So this is a simple post mapping that we have created. Now let me try to run this and then try to hit this endpoint from the postman and show you what things we are getting and what we are sending as a request body and what is the time, what is the size, everything. Let me try to show, and then after that we'll try to create a separate post mapping, a post API where we'll try to introduce the GZIP compression. So we are good. Our application is up and running on the port number 8080. Now let me try to open the postman here. It will take few seconds. Just wait for this. So what is this is the class level mapping, which is forward slash JZIP, and then we have the post mapping, which is without compression. So it is opened, just loading. So we are good. Now our application is up on the port number 8080. Then we have to provide the class level mapping, which is JZIP, and then we have to provide this additional mapping for the post mapping, which is without compression. So just paste it out, and it is a post mapping. Go to the body, and here you have to send the simple string. So I already have one string here, and let's say this is the string that we are sending, and yeah, let me try to send it out. And here in the response you can see we are getting the same response, sorry, the same string that we are sending as a request body, we are getting the same string in the response as well. And here you can see the size of the response is 942 byte, and this is the time taken, and this is the status. If we'll go to the header of the response that we are getting, you will find that we have the content type, content length, and all the other things are there. And if you'll go to the header of this request or the postman header, you can say you will get those default things here. Okay, and this is one additional thing that I have included. Let me try to not include as of now. So just let me try to send it again, and you can see the same thing we are getting. So basically what I want to show you here is for this map for this API is the same. Whatever thing we are sending as a request body, the string that we are sending as a request body from the postman, the same thing we are getting in the response, and this is the size of that response that we are getting. The size is 942 bytes. But once we'll try to integrate or try to enable the compression, the size will drastically reduced here. Okay, so this is how the post one is working without compression. Now let me try to go to the post this IntelliJ again and try to create another post mapping where we'll try to enable the compression. So copy the whole thing and just paste it out. Now let me try to change the name of the method and the mapping as well. Okay, and the same thing we are sending here, we are sending a simple string as a request body, but this time what we'll do, we'll try to get this string and convert that string in the form of bytes, and then we'll try to compress that and then send it back to the response. Okay, so this let me try to do those things here. So what we are doing is whatever thing we are sending as a request body, whatever string we are sending as a request body, first of all we'll try to convert that string into the byte, and then we'll compress it out, and then we'll send it as a response. Like here what we are doing is we are setting that request body that we are sending from the postman in the body of the response entity, okay, and then sending it out. But in the case of compression, what we'll do, we will try to create one method that will be compressing the string that we are sending as a request body, and then that method will return us the compressed byte array, and that byte array we will return as a response of the API that we are creating here, which is with compression. So let me try to create that method first, and then one by one I will try to show you how we are going to complete this API. Okay, so as of now this API is looking the same how without compression is looking like, but what we'll do here, we'll try to create one method which will be taking this request body, which is a string here that we are sending from the postman, and then it will try to compress that string and then return us the byte of array as a response of that compressed method, and that we will use and set into the body of the response entity and then return that thing from the API. So let me try to do that. So here let me try to create one method, and let's say the method is, we can keep it as a private, and let's say its return type is byte of array. Okay, let's say compress, method name is compress, and what we are sending here as an argument is the byte of the string that we are sending as a request body. So what we'll do, the string that we are sending as a request body from the postman, we will try to convert that string in the form of byte, and that byte, converted byte, will send to the compress method, and that compress method will take that byte data, and then GZIP compression will be applied on that byte data. So let me try to pass the argument here. So the argument that we are passing is byte of array, and let's say its name is data, and let me try to create one object of the byte array output stream. Let me try to import this. Okay, and let's say its name is byte array output stream. We need to create the object of it. Now what we'll do, we'll try to create the GZIP output stream, and we'll pass this byte array output stream object that we have created here into that GZIP output stream. So let me try to create that. Here we are passing the thing, and why it is giving the error. Let me try to see. Come here and unhandle exception. We need to add this piece of code in the try and catch. So add it out. Now we are good. Let me try to put this down. And now what we need to do, where we are, let me try to minimize this. So what we did, we have created the object of the byte array output stream, and we are passing that object to the GZIP output stream method here, constructed here. And now what we'll do, we'll try to write the data that we are sending here as an argument into the GZIP output stream. So there's a method called write, and then you have to pass the data that we are passing here in the argument of the compress, and then we need to do the finish, and then simply return the byte array output stream dot to byte array. Like we are converting back this output stream to the byte array and then returning it out from this method. Now this method is compressing the data that we are sending here in the form of byte array. So we are just going to call this method above here in the API that we are developing, and here we need to pass that method. So the argument that we are passing from this in this method is the byte array, right? So we need to convert this string in the form of byte array. So just pass this. Let me try to come here and let's say body dot get byte array, and we are good. And what we can do is we can create one byte array and we can capture that response here, which is coming from the compressed method. So what we are doing is whatever thing we are sending from the postman as a request body, whatever string we are sending from the postman as a request body, we are converting that to the byte and then we are sending it out to the compress method. It is going there and applying the GZIP compression on it and then returning back the byte array to us. We are holding that byte array response into the variable called response, and that thing we are going to set here into the body. Now what we need to do here, you can see the return type of this with compression method is response entity of type string. We need to change it to the byte array. Okay, and we are good. Now the compression is being done, but if you are not going to apply the like if you're not going to set the content encoding to GZIP in the HTTP header, then we are not going to get the exact response. Okay, we are going to get the encoded response if we are not applying the HTTP headers or we are not setting the content encoding to GZIP in the HTTP headers. So let me try to run this out and then try to show you what I am talking about. So just run this application and go to the postman and just our application is up on the port number 8080 and our class level mapping is GZIP, and then the method that we are targeting here is with compression. So the additional mapping would be with compression. So come here to the postman and form it out GZIP, and the additional mapping is with compression. Now we are sending this string as a request body and let me try to hit it. Now you can see we are getting the response, and if you'll go to the body you will see that the response whatever we are getting is in the encoded format. So we are not able to decode it out. Why? Because we are not setting the content encoding to GZIP in the response header that we are sending it out from the API. So here you can see in the API, we are not setting any HTTP headers to content encoding. So when we are sending the response entity, we don't have any headers and we don't have any content encoding set into that headers. So that is why it is not able to pick up here into the postman, and it is not converting that encoded response to the readable format. Okay, so one thing we need to do is we need to create one HTTP headers and we need to set the content encoding into that HTTP headers to GZIP. So let me try to do that. And before going to do that, let me try to show you one thing. So here you can see the size is drastically reduced and it is reduced to 236 byte. But when we were not doing the compression, the size was around 950 bytes, I think. So the size is drastically reduced here when we applied the compression. Okay. Now one more thing, let me try to show you. Here you can see in the response there is a header. If you go to this header, you can see there is a content type, content length, date, keep alive, and the connection. We don't have any content encoding here, and that is why in the response we are not able to see the string that we are passing here as a request body. We are getting the encoded response here. So when we'll try to set the headers to the like headers content encoding to GZIP, then it will be able to in decode that encoded response, and it will convert that encoded response in the string format. So that thing we need to set in our code. So let me try to go there. Or if you want to do the comparison of the size, uh, I can again hit the without compression API and then show you the comparison of this size. But just wait for it. First of all, let me try to add the HTTP headers to our API and then get the correct response here, and then we'll try to compare the size. Okay, so let me try to go to this application and here create one HTTP headers. HTTP headers, and let's say new HTTP headers. Now set this HTTP, like in the HTTP headers you need to set, and let's say HTTP headers dot content encoding, and we need to set the content encoding to GZIP. Okay, and now what we need to do in the response that we are sending here, we only have two things. One is the status, second is the body, but we need to also include the headers here. So just see if the headers is there. Yeah, we need to pass this header object that we have created. So copy it out, paste it here in the headers, and that's all. Okay, now let me try to rerun this application and try to hit the API again and then see. So our application is up. Go to the Postman and hit this API. Okay, if you come here to the header, you can see we are not able to see the content encoding. Okay, so I think something wrong here. Let me try to see how we can set the headers here in the response. So okay, we have the header. Mhm. We have headers. Let me try to pass this. Okay, I think we were passing the wrong header, or we were using the wrong header method here. This one is the right one. Let me try to rerun it and then try to see while hitting the API. So just come here, go to the Postman and try to hit this, and go to the body, and here you can see we are able to see the correct response, and even the size is 260 byte now itself. Okay, so this is how you can apply the GZIP, or you can do the GZIP compression in a RESTful API in the Spring Boot application. Now let me try to go to the IntelliJ again, and here you can see we were having one another API without doing the compression. So let me try to hit this API again and then show you the size difference. Okay, so send it out, and here you can see this time the size that we are getting is 942. This is the size of the response that we are getting here. It is 942 bytes when the compression is not enabled. Okay, but when the compression is enabled, the size is drastically decreased. Okay, you can see. Let me try to hit the API which is doing the compression. So you can see the size is drastically decreased to 260 byte. Okay, so this is how you can enable or implement the GZIP compression in the Spring Boot in the form of RESTful APIs. Okay, if you like the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe the channel for more such content. Thanks.